First contact. The vastness of space stretched out before Captain Aria Chen as she guided her small exploration vessel, the Curiosity, through an uncharted solar system. After months of solitary travel, she was the first human to venture this far into the galaxy. Her mission: to seek out new life and expand humanity's understanding of the universe. Aria's eyes were fixed on the scanners, searching for any sign of the anomalous energy readings that had brought her to this distant corner of space. As she approached the third planet from the system's star, her instruments suddenly came alive with activity. Finally, she muttered to herself, a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through her veins. The planet before her was a swirling mass of blues and greens, not unlike Earth, but with curious purple bands streaking across its atmosphere. As the Curiosity entered orbit, Aria began her standard survey protocols. She was halfway through mapping the planet's surface when an alert blared through the ship's speakers. Unidentified object approaching, the ship's AI announced. Origin: planetary surface. Aria's heart raced as she watched a sleek, silver craft rise from the planet below. It was unlike any ship she had ever seen, its hull seamlessly blending organic and technological elements. There was no doubt this was of alien origin. Years of training kicked in as Aria initiated first contact procedures. She opened all communication channels and began broadcasting the universal greeting message in various formats: radio waves, light patterns, and even simple mathematical sequences. For several tense minutes, there was no response. Then suddenly, a holographic display flickered to life in the center of her bridge. A figure materialized, humanoid in basic shape, but clearly alien. Its skin was a pale lavender, with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow. 4 arms emerged from its torso, and its head was adorned with what looked like a living crown of crystalline structures. Aria took a deep breath and spoke. "I am Captain Aria Chen of the Earth exploration vessel Curiosity. I come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship." The alien tilted its head, the crystals on its crown vibrating slightly. Then, to Aria's astonishment, it responded in perfect English. "Welcome, Captain Aria Chen of Earth. I am Zilix, emissary of the Luminae. We have long awaited this moment." Aria blinked in surprise. You speak my language." Zilix's mouth, or what Aria assumed was a mouth, curved into what might have been a smile. "We have been observing your world for some time, learning your languages and customs. We believed it was only a matter of time before your species reached us." This revelation sent Aria's mind reeling. The implications were enormous. "How long have you been watching us?" "Long enough to see your potential," Zilix replied. "Your species is young, but remarkably adaptive and resilient. We have witnessed your triumphs and struggles, your capacity for both destruction and creation. It is why we chose to reveal ourselves to you now." Aria's scientific curiosity overrode her initial shock. "Your technology is incredible. The way you've mastered interplanetary travel, your communication abilities. How did your civilization achieve such advancements?" Zilix's crystal crown shimmered. "Our path has been long, with its own share of triumphs and mistakes. But perhaps the most important lesson we've learned is that true progress comes from cooperation and the exchange of ideas. Which is why, Captain Chen, we would like to invite you to our world." The invitation took Aria by surprise. First contact protocol typically involved a long period of remote communication before any physical meeting. But the opportunity to set foot on an alien world, to learn directly from an advanced civilization, it was the dream of every explorer. I would be honored," Aria said, her voice filled with awe and excitement. Zilix's form seemed to brighten. "Excellent. Please, follow the guidance beacon we're transmitting. It will lead you to a safe landing zone near our capital city." As the hologram faded, Aria took a moment to steady herself. She was about to become the first human to set foot on an alien world, to meet an advanced civilization face to face. The weight of the moment was not lost on her. With careful precision, she guided the Curiosity into the planet's atmosphere, following the Luminae's beacon. As she descended, the alien landscape came into view. Vast forests of iridescent vegetation stretched across the terrain, interspersed with gleaming structures that seemed to grow organically from the ground. The ship touched down on a smooth, pearlescent landing pad. As the engines powered down, Aria performed a final check of her environmental suit. The planet's atmosphere was breathable for humans, but protocol demanded caution. With a hiss, the airlock opened, and Aria stepped out onto the alien world. The air was thick with unfamiliar scents, and a gentle breeze carried particles that sparkled in the light of the system's star. Before her stood Xylix, flanked by a group of other Luminae. Their crystalline crowns hummed in unison, creating a haunting melody that seemed to welcome her. "Captain Chen," Xylix said, extending two of its four arms in greeting. "Welcome to Lumina. We have much to share with you, and much to learn from you in return." As Aria reached out to clasp Xylix's hands, she knew that this moment would change the course of human history forever. The universe had suddenly become a much larger, more wondrous place, and humanity had taken its first step into a greater cosmic community. "Thank you, Xylix," Aria replied, her voice filled with emotion. "On behalf of all humanity, I look forward to building a friendship between our peoples." As she followed Xylix and the other Luminae towards a shimmering structure in the distance, Aria couldn't help but feel a sense of immense possibility. The journey that had brought her to this moment was just the beginning. A new chapter in the story of humanity was about to unfold, and she was here to witness it firsthand. Cultural exchange. As Aria followed Xylix into the heart of the Luminae capital, her senses were overwhelmed by the alien world around her. The city was a harmonious blend of nature and technology, with buildings that seemed to grow from the ground like crystalline trees. Streams of what looked like liquid light flowed through the streets, pulsing with energy. "Our city is a living entity," Xylix explained, noticing Aria's wonder. "It grows and adapts to our needs, powered by the natural energies of our planet." Aria marveled at the concept. "It's beautiful. On Earth, we've only begun to experiment with sustainable, living architecture." Xylix's crown vibrated in what Aria was beginning to recognize as a sign of interest. "Tell me more about your world, Captain Chen. We have observed from afar, but first-hand accounts are invaluable." As they walked, Aria described Earth's diverse ecosystems, its teeming cities, and the complex tapestry of human cultures. She spoke of humanity's triumphs in science and art, but also candidly discussed their struggles with conflict and environmental challenges. "Your species fascinates us," Xylix said. "You have achieved so much in such a short time, yet you also face great challenges. It is why we believe this exchange could benefit us both." They arrived at a grand structure that Xylix explained was the Hall of Knowledge. Inside, holographic displays showcased the history and achievements of the Luminae civilization. Aria was introduced to other members of their society, scientists, artists, and philosophers eager to learn about humanity. As the days passed, Aria found herself immersed in a whirlwind of cultural exchange. She shared Earth's music, literature, and art with the Luminae, who were particularly fascinated by human emotions and creativity. In return, they taught her about their own culture, including their unique form of collective consciousness facilitated by their crystalline crowns. "Our crowns allow us to share thoughts and experiences directly," a Luminae scientist named Elorin explained. "It has led to rapid advancements in our society, as knowledge can be instantly disseminated." Aria was amazed. "That's incredible. On Earth, we've only theorized about such technology. But doesn't it raise concerns about privacy or individuality?" Elorin's patterns shifted thoughtfully. "A valid concern. We maintain strict ethical guidelines and personal boundaries. Our connection is a choice, not a constant state." As Aria delved deeper into Luminae society, she discovered both striking differences and surprising similarities to human culture. The Luminae had no concept of war, having evolved past violent conflict millennia ago. Yet, they shared humanity's drive for exploration and scientific discovery. One evening, as Arya sat with Zilix watching the planet's twin moons rise, she reflected on her experiences. "Your civilization seems so advanced, so peaceful. Surely you have much more to teach us than we could offer in return." Zilix's crystalline crown shimmered softly. "You underestimate your species, Arya. Yes, we have achieved much, but we have also reached a plateau in many ways. Your human unpredictability, your ability to make intuitive leaps of logic, these are qualities we admire and wish to understand better." Arya was surprised by this admission. "Really? I would have thought our chaotic nature would be seen as a weakness." "Not at all," Zilix replied. "It is the source of your greatest strengths. Your adaptability, your resilience in the face of adversity. These are traits born from that very chaos. We believe that by learning from each other, both our civilizations can grow." As they continued to talk, Arya began to see the potential of this newfound relationship between humans and Luminae. The exchange of ideas and technologies could propel both species forward in ways they had never imagined. However, their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from one of Zilix's aides. The emissary's crown pulsed rapidly as they received the information, their expression growing grave. "What is it?" Arya asked, sensing the sudden tension. Zilix turned to her, their voice carrying a weight she hadn't heard before. "We have detected an anomaly at the edge of our solar system. A massive object, unlike anything we've encountered, is approaching rapidly." Arya felt a chill run down her spine. "Hostile. Unknown," Zilix replied. "But its trajectory and speed suggest purposeful movement. We must prepare for any possibility." As alarms began to sound throughout the city, Arya realized that the peaceful cultural exchange was about to be tested. Whatever was coming, it had the potential to change everything. "What can I do to help?" Arya asked, her explorer's curiosity giving way to a determination to assist her new allies. Zilix's crown pulsed with appreciation. "Your offer is welcome, Arya. Come, let us gather with our leaders. Your unique perspective may prove invaluable in understanding this new development." As they hurried towards a central command center, Arya's mind raced with possibilities. Was this a new alien species making contact? A natural phenomenon they didn't understand? Or something more sinister? The Luminae capital, once serene, now buzzed with activity. Arya saw concern on the faces of the aliens around her, but also a sense of unity and purpose. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. In the command center, holographic displays showed the approaching object. It was massive, easily the size of a small moon, with a structure that defied conventional design. As Arya studied the images, she couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would test both humanity and the Luminae in ways they couldn't yet imagine. Zilix addressed the gathered leaders, their voice calm but urgent. "We face an unknown entity, one that could pose a threat to both our worlds. But we also stand at the precipice of a new era of cooperation between our species. Together, we may find strength we never knew we had." As the alien leaders turned to her, Arya felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She was no longer just an explorer, but a representative of humanity in what could be a pivotal moment for both civilizations. "Whatever comes," Arya said, her voice steady, "Earth stands with Lumina. Let's face this together." Impending threat. The atmosphere in the Luminae command center was tense as the mysterious object continued its approach. Holographic displays flickered with constant updates, showing the anomaly's trajectory and attempting to analyze its composition. Arya stood among the Luminae leaders, her mind racing with both scientific curiosity and growing concern. "Our long-range scans are inconclusive," reported Ellerin, the Luminae scientist. "The object's surface seems to be constantly shifting, making detailed analysis difficult." Zilix's crystalline crown pulsed with rapid patterns. "Have we made any progress in establishing communication?" A communications specialist, her name was Nari, shook her head. We've transmitted greetings on all known frequencies, including those used by Captain Chen's species. There's been no response. Arya stepped forward, studying the holographic representation of the object. Its surface rippled and changed, almost like a liquid, but with occasional solid structures emerging and receding. It's unlike anything I've ever seen or read about, she mused. Have you encountered anything similar in your history? The Luminae leaders exchanged glances, their crowns humming in a collective thought process that Arya was still getting used to. Finally, Zilix spoke. There are ancient legends of entities that travel between stars, neither fully organic nor mechanical, but they were considered myths, stories to inspire our young to look to the stars. As they discussed possibilities, alarms suddenly blared throughout the command center. The holographic display zoomed in on the object, showing smaller entities detaching from its surface. Multiple objects have separated from the main mass, Ellorin announced, his voice tight with tension. They're heading towards Lumina at high speed. Arya felt her heart race. Could they be probes? Or, she hesitated, not wanting to voice the more ominous possibility. Or an invasion force, Zilix finished grimly. We must prepare for all scenarios. The next few hours were a flurry of activity. The Luminae, despite their peaceful nature, revealed that they were not defenseless. Ancient defense systems, long dormant, were reactivated. The city itself began to change, structures shifting to create protective barriers. Arya found herself working closely with Ellorin and a team of Luminae scientists, analyzing the incoming data and trying to find any weakness or pattern in the approaching entities. Her experience with human space exploration, though limited compared to the Luminae's vast knowledge, offered a fresh perspective that the aliens valued. As the smaller objects entered Lumina's atmosphere, the true nature of the threat became clear. There was some form of biomechanical drones, adapting to the planet's environment as they descended. The Luminae's defensive measures seemed to slow them, but not stop them entirely. Their learning, Arya observed, watching the drones adjust their approach with each countermeasure. It's like they're part of a hive mind, sharing information instantly. Zilix nodded gravely. Much like our own collective consciousness, but twisted towards a singular, destructive purpose. The first drones reached the outskirts of the capital. Arya watched in awe and horror as they began to interface with the Luminae technology, attempting to corrupt and control it. The city's living architecture fought back, pulsing with energy as it resisted the invasion. Your city, Arya gasped. It's defending itself. Yes, Ellorin explained, his voice filled with both pride and concern. Our symbiosis with our technology is our strength, but it could also be our vulnerability if these invaders learn to exploit it. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Luminae's defenses, while impressive, were slowly being overwhelmed. The invading force seemed endless, with more drones constantly arriving from the main object in orbit. Arya felt a growing sense of frustration and helplessness. The Luminae's advanced technology and her own human ingenuity seemed insufficient against this relentless, adaptive enemy. But as she watched the Luminae work together, their minds linked in perfect coordination, an idea began to form. Zilix, she called out, excitement breaking through her fear. You said your collective consciousness allows you to share knowledge instantly, right? The emissary turned to her, curiosity evident in their shifting patterns. Yes, that's correct. And these invaders, they're adapting quickly, like a hive mind. Arya continued, her mind racing. What if we could use your collective consciousness against them? Overwhelm their network with information, or feed them false data? Zilix's crown pulsed rapidly as they considered the idea. It's possible, but risky. Opening our minds to their network could leave us vulnerable to corruption. But it might be our only chance, Arya argued. We need to try something unexpected, something they can't adapt to quickly enough. The Luminae leaders conferred silently, their crowns humming in intense discussion. Finally, Zilix turned back to Arya. We agree to attempt your plan, but we'll need your help, Captain Chen. Your human mind, unburdened by our collective link, might be the key to creating the unpredictability we need. Arya nodded, a mix of determination and fear coursing through her. Tell me what to do. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Arya worked with the Lumini scientists to develop a plan of attack. They would create a controlled link between the Lumini, collective consciousness, and the invaders' network, with Arya's mind acting as a chaotic element to disrupt the enemy's processes. As they made final preparations, Arya couldn't help but reflect on the irony of the situation. She had come to Lumina seeking knowledge and friendship, and now found herself at the center of a battle for survival. The cultural exchange that had begun so peacefully had evolved into something far more profound, a fusion of two species' strengths in the face of an existential threat. Zilix approached her as the final systems were being calibrated. Are you ready, Arya? This will not be without risk. Arya took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. I'm ready. Whatever happens, I'm honored to stand with you. As the Luminae linked their minds and prepared to engage with the invaders' network, Arya placed her hand on the interface they had prepared for her. She felt a tingling sensation as her consciousness expanded, connecting with the vast, alien intelligence of the Luminae. In that moment, as human ingenuity merged with Luminae technology to face an unknown threat, Arya realized that this was more than just a battle for survival. It was a testament to the power of cooperation, of two vastly different species coming together in the face of adversity. The interface hummed to life, and Arya felt herself drawn into a vast, swirling consciousness. The true test was about to begin: human ingenuity. As Arya's consciousness merged with the Lumini collective, she was overwhelmed by a flood of sensations and information. The vastness of their shared mind was unlike anything she had ever experienced. Colors, sounds, and abstract concepts swirled around her in a dizzying array. For a moment, she feared losing herself in this alien sea of thought. But then she remembered her purpose. Focusing her will, Arya began to assert her individuality within the collective. Her human thoughts, unpredictable and chaotic compared to the harmonious Luminae minds, created ripples in the shared consciousness. Remarkable, she heard Zalix's thoughts echo through the link. Your mind is like a storm in our calm sea, Arya. Let's direct that chaos towards our invaders. With the guidance of the Luminae, Arya felt her consciousness expand further, reaching out towards the invading drones. As they made contact with the enemy network, she sensed its cold, calculating nature. It was vast and complex, but also rigid in its single-minded purpose. Arya's first instinct was to try to overwhelm the network with random thoughts and emotions, but she quickly realized this approach was too simplistic. The enemy adapted quickly, filtering out the noise. She needed a more subtle strategy. Drawing upon her knowledge of human history and culture, Arya began to introduce concepts that were uniquely human: paradoxes, abstract art, music, and even humor. These ideas, so foreign to both the Luminae and the invaders, created small disruptions in the enemy network. It's working, Ellerin's thoughts came through the link. The invaders are slowing down, struggling to process these new concepts. Encouraged, Arya pushed further. She recalled the most complex human philosophies, the most moving pieces of literature, the most challenging scientific theories. Each new idea sent ripples through the enemy network, causing momentary confusions and delays. But the invaders were learning, adapting to even these strange human concepts. Arya realized she needed to go deeper, to tap into something even more fundamentally human. In a flash of inspiration, she focused on the very essence of human contradiction, their capacity for both great good and terrible evil, their ability to love and hate with equal passion, that endless quest for meaning in an often chaotic universe. These core aspects of humanity, so difficult to quantify or categorize, sent shockwaves through the invaders' network. Arya could sense their confusion, their processes stuttering as they tried to make sense of these illogical, emotionally driven concepts. Now, Zelix's command resonated through the collective. While they're disoriented, we must strike. The Lumini consciousness surged forward, capitalizing on the opening Arya had created. Their advanced minds flooded the enemy network with false data and contradictory commands. Arya watched in awe as the invading drones began to falter, their coordinated attacks becoming erratic. On the physical plane, the tide of the battle began to turn. The drones, confused by the mental assault, started to clash with each other. Some simply shut down, while others flew off course, crashing into buildings or the ground. But the victory was not without cost. Arya felt the strain of maintaining her mental presence in this alien realm. Her human mind, remarkable in its uniqueness, was not designed for this kind of prolonged psychic engagement. She could feel herself starting to fade, her thoughts becoming muddled. Arya, Zelix's concerned thoughts reached her. You must withdraw. Your mind cannot sustain this connection much longer. But Arya knew they weren't finished yet. The main object, the source of the drones, was still in orbit. If they didn't disable it now, the attack could resume at any moment. Mustering her remaining strength, Arya focused on one last, powerful human trait, hope. The irrational, often illogical human ability to believe in a better future, even in the darkest of times. She projected this concept with all her might towards the main object. The effect was immediate and stunning. The vast alien consciousness controlling the drones recoiled as if struck. In that moment of weakness, the Lumini struck decisively. Their combined mental force, guided by Arya's human unpredictability, overwhelmed the alien mind. In orbit, the massive object began to lose cohesion. Its surface rippled violently, and then it began to break apart. The remaining drones on the planet's surface went limp, their controlling intelligence shattered. With the immediate threat neutralized, Zelix gently guided Arya's consciousness back from the collective. As the connection faded, Arya found herself back in her physical body, gasping and disoriented. "Easy, Captain Chen," Elorin's voice came from nearby. "You've been through an extraordinary ordeal." As Arya's vision cleared, she saw the relieved faces of the Lumini around her. Outside, through the command center's windows, she could see the city beginning to heal itself, the damage from the invasion already being repaired by the living architecture. Did we do it?" Arya asked, her voice hoarse. Zelix nodded, the crystalline crown glowing warmly. "Thanks to you, Arya. Your human mind, your ability to think in ways we never could, it was the key to our victory." As the reality of their success sank in, Arya felt a profound sense of accomplishment, tinged with lingering awe at what she had experienced. She had touched an alien consciousness, had merged her mind with an entire species, and had faced a threat beyond imagination. And through it all, it was her humanity, in all its beautiful, chaotic complexity, that had made the difference. "I never imagined," Arya said softly, "that the very things that often divide us as humans, our contradictions, our illogical emotions, would be our greatest strength out here among the stars." Zelix placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Perhaps that is the greatest lesson we can learn from each other, Arya. The Lumini strive for harmony and unity, but you've shown us the power of diversity and individuality." As the Lumini began the process of recovery and analysis of the invasion, Arya found herself reflecting on the implications of what had transpired. This encounter had proven that humanity, despite its relative youth as a spacefaring species, had something unique and valuable to offer the galaxy. The cultural exchange that had begun so peacefully had evolved into something far more profound, a true melding of two vastly different species in the face of a common threat. And in that melding, both humans and Lumini had glimpsed new possibilities for growth and understanding. As she looked out at the recovering city, Arya knew that the story of human and Lumini cooperation was only beginning. The stars suddenly seemed fuller of both peril and promise, and she was eager to explore them further, with her new allies by her side. battle for survival. In the days following the initial invasion, an uneasy calm settled over Lumina. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but both Aria and the Luminae knew that this was likely only the beginning. The destroyed object in orbit had been but one of many, and there was no telling when or if more would arrive. Aria found herself in a new role, no longer just an explorer, but a key strategist in preparing for potential future encounters. Her unique human perspective had proven invaluable, and the Luminae were eager to learn more about human ways of thinking and problem-solving. As they worked, Aria couldn't help but marvel at the resilience of the Luminae. Their city was rapidly healing itself, the living architecture adapting and evolving to be more resistant to future attacks. It was a stark contrast to the often slow and cumbersome recovery efforts she had witnessed on Earth after natural disasters. "Your ability to rebuild so quickly is amazing," Aria commented to Zilix as they surveyed the recovering cityscape from a high vantage point. Zilix's crown shimmered with what Aria now recognized as pride. "It is one of our greatest strengths. We believe in harmony with our environment, in growing and adapting rather than imposing our will upon nature." As they spoke, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the city. Zilix's crown pulsed rapidly, receiving information through the Luminae's collective consciousness. "What is it?" Aria asked, her heart racing. "More objects," Zilix replied grimly. "Many more. They've appeared at the edge of our system." Rushing back to the command center, Aria saw the gravity of the situation displayed on the holographic screens. Dozens of objects, similar to the one they had faced before, were approaching Lumina. This was no mere scouting force, it was a full-scale invasion. The Luminae sprang into action, their movements coordinated with an efficiency that still amazed Aria. Defense systems were activated, the city's architecture began to shift into a more protective configuration, and emergency protocols were initiated. "We need to contact Earth," Aria said suddenly, turning to Zilix. "My ship, the Curiosity, it has long-range communication capabilities. If we can warn them, maybe they can prepare, or even send help." Zilix nodded. "A wise precaution. But Aria, you must understand. The journey that took you months to complete, these invaders could cover in days. If they set their sights on your homeworld." The implications hung heavy in the air. Earth, with its limited space defenses, would be even more vulnerable than Lumina. Aria felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. She was no longer just an explorer or even a representative of humanity. She might be Earth's only warning system. As Aria rushed to her ship to send the message, the first wave of the invasion force entered Lumina's atmosphere. The battle that ensued was like nothing she had ever imagined. The sky filled with swarms of biomechanical drones, their forms constantly shifting and adapting. The Luminae's defenses, enhanced after the first encounter, put up a valiant fight. Beams of energy crisscrossed the air, while the very buildings of the city seemed to reach up and swat invaders from the sky. Aria, having sent her warning to Earth, found herself in the thick of the action. Her experiences merged with Luminae technology allowed her to interface with their defense systems in ways she never thought possible. She coordinated with Luminae operators, her human intuition complementing their advanced technology. "They're targeting our power distribution nodes," Aria called out, noticing a pattern in the enemy's movements. "If we reroute energy through the secondary grid, we can." Her words were cut off as a massive explosion rocked the command center. A section of the ceiling collapsed, and Aria found herself pinned under debris. As her vision blurred, she saw Zilix and other Luminae rushing to her aid. When she regained consciousness, Aria found herself in a medical bay, the sounds of battle still raging outside. Zilix stood nearby, their usually luminous form looking dimmed with fatigue. How long was I out?" Aria asked, wincing as she tried to sit up. "Several hours," Zilix replied. "The battle continues, but we are holding our own, thanks in no small part to your insights." Aria's mind raced, trying to process the situation. "My message to Earth, did it get through?" Zelix's crown pulsed softly. Yes, we received confirmation. Your people are preparing as best they can. Despite the dire circumstances, Aria felt a surge of pride. Humanity, young as it was in the cosmic scale, would not go down without a fight, and here on Lumina, she had the chance to make a difference, to perhaps save not one world, but two. As soon as she was able, Aria insisted on returning to the command center. The situation had evolved while she was unconscious. The Luminae had managed to destroy several of the invading objects, but more kept coming. It was a war of attrition, and one that the peaceful Luminae were ill-prepared for. We need to change our strategy, Aria said, studying the holographic battle maps. We're reacting to their moves, but we need to take the initiative. Ellerin, who had been coordinating the scientific efforts, turned to her. What do you propose, Captain Chen? Aria's mind raced, drawing upon her knowledge of human military history and strategy. In human warfare, we often talk about asymmetric tactics. When faced with a superior force, you don't meet them head-on. You find their weaknesses, you use the environment to your advantage. The Luminae listened intently as Aria outlined her plan. They would use the living architecture of their city not just as a defense, but as a weapon. By tapping into the planet's natural energy fields, they could create electromagnetic pulses that would disrupt the invaders' coordination. Moreover, Aria suggested using the mental link they had established during the first encounter to launch a coordinated psychic attack. This time, instead of just confusing the enemy, they would attempt to plant false information, turning the invaders against each other. As the plan was put into motion, Aria found herself once again at the center of a mental maelstrom. The combined consciousness of the Luminae, guided by her human creativity, reached out to the invading force. They projected images of betrayal, of hidden agendas within the alien ranks. The effect was dramatic. Swarms of drones began to attack each other, their once coordinated assault falling into chaos. On the ground, the Luminae activated their planetary defense grid, sending pulses of energy that fried the circuitry of the confused invaders. For hours, the battle raged on. Aria's mind, merged with the Luminae collective, was pushed to its limits. She felt as though she was everywhere at once, in the sky among the warring drones, in the city's living structures as they pulsed with defensive energy, and in the cold vastness of space where the larger alien ships loomed. As the conflict reached its peak, Aria had a moment of clarity. She realized that this battle was more than just a fight for survival. It was a testament to the power of cooperation, to the strength that could be found when different species came together, combining their unique strengths. With one final monumental effort, the combined human Luminae consciousness pushed back against the invading force. The alien ships in orbit began to falter, their control over the drones weakening. One by one, they began to retreat, pulling back from Lumina's atmosphere. As the last of the invaders disappeared into the depths of space, a profound silence fell over the city. Aria, exhausted beyond measure, felt herself slipping from the mental link. The last thing she heard before losing consciousness was Xylix's voice, filled with awe and gratitude. "We have done it, Aria. Together, we have survived. A new alliance." As consciousness slowly returned to Aria, she became aware of soft, melodic tones surrounding her. Gradually opening her eyes, she found herself in a heaving chamber, its walls pulsing with gentle, restorative energy. Xylix and Ellerin stood nearby, their crystalline crowns glowing with what Aria now recognized as relief and joy. "Welcome back, Captain Chen," Xylix said softly. "You've been unconscious for several days. Your mind needed time to recover from the strain of our combined efforts." Aria sat up slowly, marveling at how refreshed she felt despite the ordeal. The invasion, did we really succeed? Ellerin nodded, his patterns shifting excitedly. "Thanks to your strategy and our combined strengths, we repelled the invaders. They've retreated beyond the edges of our star system." As Aria absorbed this information, her thoughts turned to her home. Earth. Did we receive any word from them? Yes, Zelix replied, their tone becoming more serious. Your warning allowed them to prepare. When a small force of invaders reached your solar system, Earth's defenses were ready. They managed to fend off the attack, though not without some losses. A mix of relief and sadness washed over Aria. Her home was safe, but the cost of this interstellar conflict was becoming clear. So what happens now? She asked. Zelix's crown pulsed thoughtfully. That, Captain Chen, is something we hope to discuss with you. This crisis has shown us that we are stronger together. The Luminae High Council has proposed a formal alliance between our peoples. Aria's eyes widened at the implications. An alliance? But I'm just an explorer. I don't have the authority to negotiate something like that. Perhaps not officially, Ellerin interjected, but you have proven yourself to be an exemplary representative of your species. We would be honored if you would act as an intermediary as we open formal diplomatic channels with Earth. Over the next few weeks, as both Lumina and Earth recovered from the attacks, Aria found herself at the center of a whirlwind of diplomatic activity. Her ship's long-range communications were constantly active, relaying messages between Luminae leaders and Earth's governments. The process was not without its challenges. Some on Earth were wary of rushing into an alliance with an unknown alien species. Others saw the immense potential in such a partnership. Aria worked tirelessly to bridge the gap, explaining Luminae culture and intentions to her fellow humans while helping the Luminae understand Earth's complex political landscape. As negotiations progressed, Aria also worked with Luminae scientists to analyze the technology left behind by the invaders. They made several breakthrough discoveries, advancing both human and Luminae understanding of faster-than-light travel and energy manipulation. It's ironic, Aria mused one day while working with Ellerin in a lab, that this invasion, as terrible as it was, might end up advancing both our civilizations by centuries. Ellerin's crown shimmered in agreement. Often, it is in facing our greatest challenges that we find our greatest opportunities for growth. Finally, after months of negotiations, a historic moment arrived. A delegation from Earth, including top scientists, diplomats, and military leaders, arrived on Lumina to sign the first interstellar alliance treaty between humans and an alien species. As Aria watched the proceedings, standing alongside Zelix and the other Luminae she had come to call friends, she felt a profound sense of awe. Her simple exploration mission had led to this moment, opening up a new chapter in human history. The treaty outlined areas of cooperation in science, culture, and mutual defense. It established protocols for sharing technology and knowledge, as well as joint exploration initiatives. Perhaps most importantly, it created a framework for addressing future threats to both their worlds. After the ceremony, as celebrations began in both the Luminae capital and cities across Earth, Aria found a quiet moment with Zelix. I never imagined when I set out on this mission that it would lead to all this, she said, gazing up at the stars visible through the city's transparent dome. Zelix's crown glowed warmly. The universe is full of unexpected wonders, Aria. Your arrival here, the challenges we faced together, and the friendship we forged, these are but the beginning of a grand journey our peoples will take together. Aria nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and responsibility. There's still so much we don't know. The invaders might return, or we might face other threats we can't even imagine yet. True, Zelix agreed, but we will face those challenges united. Your human ingenuity combined with our Luminae wisdom and technology, together, we are stronger than we ever could be apart. As the celebration continued around them, Aria's mind turned to the future. She thought of the young explorers from Earth who would soon be making this same journey, of the Luminae scientists who would visit her homeworld. She imagined the discoveries they would make together, the mysteries of the universe they would unravel. The alliance between humans and Luminae was more than just a diplomatic agreement. It was a beacon of hope in a vast and sometimes dangerous cosmos. It proved that different species, no matter how alien to each other, could find common ground and work together for the greater good. Aria knew that her role in this new era was far from over. As one of the few humans with first-hand experience of Luminae culture and abilities, she would be instrumental in guiding this alliance through its early stages. There would be challenges ahead, misunderstandings to navigate, and compromises to be made. But the potential benefits, for both species and perhaps for the galaxy at large, were immeasurable. As the twin moons of Lumina rose in the night sky, casting their ethereal light over the celebrating city, Aria felt a renewed sense of purpose. Her journey had begun as a solitary exploration of the unknown, but it had transformed into something far greater. She had not just discovered a new alien species, she had helped forge a partnership that would shape the destiny of two civilizations. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, full of promise and possibility. Whatever the future held, humans and Luminae would face it together, their alliance a testament to the power of cooperation, understanding, and the indomitable spirit of exploration that united them both. As Aria looked out at the vast expanse of space, she smiled, knowing that the greatest adventure of all was just beginning.